has just joined us, Mr. Brian Campbell. You're just in time. Mr. Brian, we'll have you introduce yourself and then usher you, because you're supposed to be the next speaker. And I was just crossing my finger and hoping that you'll show up. So everyone, this Mr. Brian Campbell, and he's the principal at Cana-Care. So please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background, and then you can even go into your presentation.
Great. Yeah, why don't I just jump right in? Thank you again, everyone, for having me here today. I have been listening the whole time. I have been here, so I know what's going on, and I'm so pleased to be among so many different esteemed speakers. Wow, some of you are really bringing a lot of information to the table, and I think that's going to make this all the more effective. So thank you again, all of you, for being here with us today. My name is Brian Campbell. I'm the principal here at Westfield Secondary School and Westfield International Education Academy here in Toronto, Canada. So as a principal here, we use the Ontario curriculum to deliver an Ontario secondary school diploma, a very attractive thing to use for applying to post-secondary universities around the world. Something that we think helps a lot of students become absolutely reaching the best potential they can. And so that's something that I think is important for us to be able to share. As many of you have mentioned, sharing best practices. This is something that we feel that we've got some pretty good ideas about, and there may be something that we could all learn from each other today. So in fact, I'm going to just jump right in and tell you a little bit about what I do and where we come from and what we're all about here at Westfield. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, Siwa, for introducing me. I do appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let me see if you will allow me to. I'm going to share my screen because I have some slides to show. Let me make sure that I can do that, and then we'll just get right in. So I'm going to click share screen. Let me make sure that I can do this.
So, let me just mention that you'll be speaking on the intentional curriculum opportunities for the 21st century schools. And that's just in line with, again, preparing the Nigerian or African child for global opportunities. So Mr. Brian will be talking about the Ontario curriculum and how that can offer opportunities for our children.
Thank you for that. I do appreciate it. Okay, so did my screen share for a second there before I closed it out to come back and talk for a minute? Okay, great. So I think that it should work out just fine now. Okay, there we go. And all right, everybody. So, oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm screen sharing. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Then I'm going to jump right in. So everybody, here's our first slide here about what we're doing today, but I want to jump right in and tell you a little bit about what we do here at Westfield. So at Westfield Education International Academy, we actually deliver the Ontario curriculum fully online. All of our students can take all of their credits, if they wish, completely from the comfort of their own homes, receive an Ontario secondary school diploma, and go from there into post-secondary learning. This is something that helps to develop all students from all backgrounds, but many of you have mentioned the importance of national development. And I think that this is something that can be of highly useful benefit. So I do want to talk, for an example, just about Canada. Why would this system be of benefit to some students here in Nigeria? Well, there's a lot of different reasons. One of the big ones is the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, something we feel very strongly about. It's something that around the world, literally every post-secondary institution in the world will accept. Because of this, it means that our student skill development and our educational standards are very high. We also must maintain those standards, not just for our own government, but also for our clients and students. This is the only way for them to really become successful, is to have the high standard put in front of them from the beginning. This is what Canadian culture values very highly. We do try to develop this because we know that in every single nation in the world, they have a representative of some type here in Toronto. It's important for us to be able to use that to help develop students. Because here we do believe that a lot of students can, benefit from a variety of different types of education. We're not just talking about a straight traditional education system that we've seen over the last 100 years. We've talked a lot about how education is evolving and changing. It is, and we need to be at the cutting edge of that if we're going to deliver the best outcomes to our students. That means having the advantages for these students made clear to you right now. Because as I'm talking to you about this, this is how students will benefit. But let's get into some specifics here. I do want to make sure I mention this because the Ontario curriculum has multiple advantages. Not only for students who wish to develop their skills in very cutting edge areas, we're talking about things like computer science, engineering, the latest types of math, quantum mechanics. These kinds of things are included in Ontario curriculum. That means that students are getting the best possible information, the most recent information, immediately within the classroom. But that's not all. A lot of these things also help to develop the student. We believe that it's not just about having study and home and study and home. You need to develop a well-rounded student. So the Ontario curriculum provides this. You get to learn a lot of different things in a lot of different areas that are all considered to be top-notch levels. But this OSSD that you receive, once you get that education instilled in you, you can then move on into post-secondary worlds with an advantage. That built-in advantage allows you to become successful at different levels much faster and much more effectively. This is something we deliver to our students, and we've seen amazing success. We know that the Ontario system has a lot of advantages, and that the OSSD also has a lot of advantages. The quality and the development of the student we consider to be central to the development of Canada. And I think also for you guys, the development of Nigeria. Now, we do try to show that in Ontario, students are not really forced into standardized testing. We don't really do that in Canada. Students go to class, get their marks, and use their marks to go to post-secondary education. There is a huge advantage for students to be focused more on their skills rather than focused on standardized testing. But I do want to say something else about the OSSD here, because it's really important to know that we change what these standards are every year. In fact, even this year, we are improving the standards of math. Mathematics in Ontario is already very strong, and we've just made it stronger. So we know that required constant care is the only way to be successful in an Ontario system. But I'm going to go farther than that, and I'm going to say that that kind of care is the only way to be successful in any system. This is something that Westfield does well, and it's something we hope that you can learn more about from us, and eventually receive the support that you need from us to be able to deliver this kind of material on your own. The best possible educational outcomes. That's what we all want, and I think we can get there together. So really, the point is that no student is the same. Every student is different, and every student has a different goal, a different pathway, and a different means to achieve that pathway. Our goal is to close that gap. What do they need? Let's give it to them, so that then they can be the most successful that they can be. This is something we feel very strongly about, and it's something we do very well. So really, I do want you to know, more than anything, we have the professional knowledge and experience necessary to properly implement the best educational systems anywhere in the world. It's what we do well. It's what we're very passionate about. Thank you. I hope that made sense. Let me unshare my screen. And thank you everybody for listening to me. I hope that was useful to you. And I hope to be able to, explain this in more detail and go into more, further questions and answers, whatever it is that all of you need. I'm sure that here we at Westfield can provide that. Thank you again. Thank you, Siwa.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Thank you, Mrs. Bankole. You talked about supporting the teachers, and I think I see it here now with the professional support program. So I'm one for supporting the teachers. I support a group called Teacher in Loving It, and basically it's very important that teachers are supported. If they don't have the tools to deliver to our children, then really we can't do nothing. We can't maximize on the opportunities that are out there. So thank you, Brian. I like the individualized program. I like the fact that it's not so focused on standardized testing. I always see an instance where you have testing for reporting purposes versus testing for actual assessment of learning. So please, we want to always be on the side of assessment for learning rather than just because we want to report. So I'm glad to see that also. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Thank you, Mrs. Bankole. I think at this point in time, I'll go on to our next speaker, who's going to share a case study of what has worked so far. I'm sure this came out of, just COVID and being, innovative and trying to put things out there, and, all of us having to experience how we survived when COVID hit us and we didn't really know what to do. So I'll take it over to Hajia Samira Jabir, and she's going to talk about her robotics program at Gleason International School. And she'll be speaking on preparing the Nigerian child for global opportunities, a case study. So thank you very much, ma'am. Take it away.
Thank you, everyone. I must congratulate, because it's a big success already, Cana-Care for this program. And I want to thank everybody that are present here today, especially the panelists. Like I said, I'm taking away a lot. Thank you for wanting to learn about the case study and giving the Nigerian child the opportunity. The fourth revolution actually is known as the digital revolution. The fifth revolution came as the revolution, advancement of humanity at workplace. But suddenly, all of a sudden, with COVID, we're all thrown back into that fourth revolution, the digital revolution. And that's basically where we are, and trying to find a way to move on to that fifth one. I must say that for us in Gleason International Academy, the journey did not start when COVID came. We had a sound footing in 2008, a sound footing phase. We have phases, different phases. And that sound footing phase was full of trial and error. All our students had CMPC, that is computer per child. And we're trying to leverage on what technology is all about for them to learn. The phase 2 of our journey is the digitalization phase, whereby we had a lot of ICT lounges and suites in the school. We had our SMEs, that is the enterprise app for doing everything that we do, adaptation of so many apps like the Vantium, IXL, BrainFriend, Study Lab, and so many of them. We're trying to harness this together. The phase 3 came in as the transition and consolidation stage, which is 2018-2019 educational session. But before then, in between those times, our children had been participating in robotics and have represented Nigeria in 6 different countries in robotics and other science exhibitions and competitions. In 2018-2019, we made it compulsory for all our students, apart from the little ones that are the early years, that are very young. We did not want to expose them to the screen, but we made it compulsory for all our students to have the tablets. They were learning on Android. And then we moved to Microsoft and all this learning LMS that you have. Then the disruption came. That is the COVID. By the time it came, we were afloat. We were learning online, we were writing exam online, and the disruption was very little. And it was in that particular point in time that our students and their teachers felt that they need to be pushed. And we pushed and we all gathered. And that innovation and the birth of Merabot came. And Merabot actually is an AI synchronized system that helped to interface between the medical personnel and the patient, especially with sick diseases like COVID that came unannounced. Again, that did not stop there. We know that that could also be used because pandemic might end, but other things that could be used for MyRabot. It went on, it minimized the risk of face-to-face of health workers during the pandemic. It was also used in our system to checkmate examination malpractices like supervisors. But however, now we are actually working seriously on it to standardize it, to patent it, and to look for how it can be marketed. Again, we came to the agility stage after that, after the birth of MyRabot, that is the robotics. Agility in the sense that our children could learn anywhere. We had our students learning from 6 different countries: US, America, UK, India, Dubai, UAE, I think Ghana, Sierra Leone, and even in some parts of the country, Maiduguri, Lagos. So that gives us that leverage to continue to work on innovation with these children. This MyRabot is just the one that actually took the whole space of the whole thing. However, I must say one thing: the challenges are huge. 1, costs implication. 2, the internet, like we've seen here, the glitches, and the cyber security. The children actually, they jailbreak. And we also have biases of parents, but that did not deter us. And I love what I've heard here today, especially in preparing the Nigerian child or the African child for global opportunities. Future work is clearly defined by technology, and it is enterprise skills. I love that your t-shirt. You could see the bigger right up there. Skills, busy bee. And from what, the principal of Westfield has said, it is about the skills. And what Mr. Bise has said, the skills, what can we endure the children with? What can we give them? How can we maximize their potentials? And all of them have different potentials, different ways that they can fly, and they wings to fly. All we need is to give them that necessary opportunity. Sometimes it's not about the money, but most importantly, it's about how we collaborate, how we use, how we assist them, even amongst our schools, like the Madam President of NAPS has mentioned. We collaborate a lot for some of us that want to. We learn from one another, share best practices. And I love the part I love most from the principal of Cana-Care, Westfield, is that education must not be examination oriented. And that is what we have here. Basically, education is more of exams. And it does not actually enhance the child to focus on what to learn for life, to use for life, because education is all about life. I always ask my students, has anybody met geography on the road? Have you met English on the road? No, but it is what the educational system equips you with that helps you to live your life, that helps you to play the life that you have to play and to cope with everything and to be part of the global citizens. And I hope that we're going to come to that. Most importantly, what we should do and what Westfield is doing is future-proofing education. And that is what we should do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hajia Samira Jabir. Thank you. You're one of the schools that I actually admire from afar. I guess today I get to say
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sia. Thank you.
And you know, I have to correct myself because, you know, when you came on board and you talked about all of the different phases that you went through for the robots to actually come out, it just took me back to that picture that talks about success and failure, and how, you know, success is, you know, just a tipping point and you don't get to see all of the hard work on this.
Absolutely, yeah, you're right. Yes, thank you, Sia.
Remind ourselves that, you know, success requires a lot of failure. And I think maybe I should just talk about that real quickly, because we're so focused on success most of the time and a successful report card for our children, that we realize that we forget that the learning is actually in the failure of it all. And so skills is what I think we need in order to tackle opportunities. You know, opportunity means preparation, and preparation, it seems to be skills. So thank you very much, Hajia. So at this point in time, I'm going to go over to my next speaker.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome, ma'am. I'm going to go over to my next speaker, Mr. Opeyemi Basuri, and he's going to talk about knowledge, skills, and pathways. So Mr. Opeyemi, take it away, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sia, and I've really enjoyed all what has been said by the panelists. So let me take it off from there, and I hope you permit me to share my slide. So while I get on that, I want to ask all the owners of schools on this program and the participants that how soon do you think the pupils or the students you have in your school should start taking advantage of the increasing global opportunities? I would really want to get an answer to that. So permit me, let me quickly share my slide. Okay. All right. Sorry, 1 minute.
So while you're doing that, I just want to mention to everyone, if you have any questions, please put them in the question and answer box. I see it's already coming in. If we will try to respond to your questions a bit later. If we cannot respond right here, we will get back to you later. So please just send us your questions and we will definitely respond as soon as possible. And we also promise to keep to time. This webinar is supposed to last until about 3:30. And if we're gonna come out here and preach, then we're gonna practice what we preach and make sure that we're efficient with everybody's time. So, you know, thank you, and just know that we're gonna maximize time and be on schedule as much as possible.
Okay, I'll ask the admin to help me with my slide. Sabi, if you're there, can you please help me with my slide? It's not coming up here. Okay, so basically, let me go on from here. So basically, here is the question. In 2018, a certain professor, Professor Chris Onalo, to be specific, said something in 2018 that 95% of Nigerian graduates are not employable. So he further stated that some of them don't have the skills that will help them to adapt to a workplace. I'm a researcher, so I have to go back and check what exactly he was talking about. So later I discovered that in the National Policy on Education, thank you, Mr. B. I discovered in National Policy on Education that the basic education is actually for students between the age of 0 and 15. And at age 12, a typical Nigerian child is entitled to be employed. A typical Nigerian child is employable at the age of 12. That means before you finish the basic education, you are allowed to be employed. You are allowed to take advantage of the global opportunities. That means before you finish your basic education, you ought to have been, you also have been able to acquire the diverse knowledge and life skills that will enable you to continue with your education or to take up a job. But is that applicable to a typical Nigerian child right now? When we've been told that some university graduates, after spending 4 years in the university, do not have the required skills to take up a job and get familiar with the workplace. So here's the question: at what point should they start taking advantage of the increasing global opportunities? And what is missing if a student or the pupils in your school cannot actually seize the global opportunity out there? A typical Nigerian child should be able to sit in the comfort of his or her room and take up job in USA, in Canada, all over the world. That is allowed. But here's the question: do they have the required skills to function and to take up all these opportunities? And that's the question that we really have to address right now. And that is the missing link between a typical Nigerian child and the global opportunities. The next slide, please. So in other words, they need that education, they need that knowledge, they need that skills that will enable them to take over the world, to take advantage of the global opportunities. And what are these skills? These skills were described by UNICEF in their latest report. If you go online and you check Global Framework on Transferable Skills, Chapter 1, you will read about the skills needed for success in school, in work, and in life. So these transferable skills are interconnected between foundational skills to digital skills to job-specific skills. So skills are actually needed. And I really have to applaud the school owners for your effort in ensuring that a typical Nigerian child receives that quality education. But at this point, I have to remind you that at the center of a good education is that curriculum. In other words, the heartbeat of a good and qualitative education is the curriculum. It is via the curriculum that the teachers will plan their lesson, design activities that will enable learners to learn to acquire knowledge and acquire skills that they can transfer. It is via the curriculum that will help students to discover themselves, to know their strengths, and take advantage of the global opportunities. But I don't know the existing curriculum that you have in your school, but here we want to introduce to you Cana-Care program. We want to introduce to you the OSSD, the Ontario Secondary School Diploma via the Ontario curriculum. Like what Mr. Brian said, this curriculum is not only focused on assessment, let's get the result there, let them pass. It's beyond that. For any Nigerian child to take advantage of the global opportunities, they need this skill set. And we have to actually start getting them familiar with these skills. Start from grade 1. You can't compare a child that has learned all these transferable skills from year 1 up to year 12, and you compare that child with someone that is just taking up or trying to acquire the skill at maybe age 11 or 12. It has become part of them. And that's why if you go to some country, you see students from grade 1, grade 2 doing amazing things, taking advantage of opportunities. That's the same thing we want for a typical Nigerian child. The next slide, please. So we actually need a curriculum that focuses more on skill acquisition so that a typical Nigerian child can find his or her pathway after discovering his or her strengths by the level of skills that must have been acquired. Some of them that want to go to the academics, that is good. For some of them that want to go to the industry, that is good. And that is the same thing that the Ontario curriculum provides. You can go into academics and you can also go into applied. Mr. Brian can confirm that. So this is the opportunities that we want a typical Nigerian child to take advantage of. And also for the teachers in your school, we want them to be exposed to the international curriculum. They need to know how to plan lessons that will enable student or a typical Nigerian child to acquire the necessary skill. Not until they finish university, that's when they will be moving around looking for how to acquire skills, the life skills as described by Mr. Omogbise. Talking about the 21st century skills, it needs to be part of them. They need to be exposed to all these skills from the foundation, starting from year 1. Not until they get to the secondary school. There is a bigger advantage for all of them, starting from grade 1. The next slide, please. So I've described this. The curriculum is very important. The curriculum is the heartbeat of the education that you are offering in your school. So we really have to address that. So what is wrong with the education in Nigeria can be addressed via the curriculum, because that is the basis for acquisition of knowledge and skills that are transferable. The next slide, please. So we want them to start from the foundation. We want them to start from year 1 to year 12. We want them to progress. We want them to measure their impact and the level of skill that they've acquired at every stage. At stage 1, we want them to express and to put on the display the skills that they have acquired via the curriculum. And it will amaze you to know that their assessment over time is cumulative, and it is 70% of the skills that they've acquired and 30% of summative assessments. Mr. Brown will confirm that. It is 70% of the skills that they've acquired from grade 1, grade 2, down to grade 12, and 30% of assessment. In other words, they will start building their skills, their transferable skills, that will enable them to take advantage of the global opportunity from grade 1. The earlier, the better. We have children 5, 7 years old that are producing amazing things in other countries. Go to China, go to America. And we are happy to hear that even at Gliston, we have students that were able to come up with a robot. It's amazing. But what if it starts from year 1? So imagine what they would have acquired before they get to that class where they were able to build that robot. So we really have to tackle this right from the foundation, right from the beginning. And that is why Cana-Care education program, we are partnering with Westfield to deliver this curriculum to all the schools in Nigeria, to all the schools in Africa, to ensure that every Nigerian child, every African child can measure up with students all over the world. We are educating global citizens. We are not educating a local child. We want children, we want students that can compete with their counterparts all around the world. And it starts with the curriculum. It starts with OSSD. It starts with Ontario curriculum. Let's help them acquire these skills. Let's help teachers also to develop a better and improved or robust lesson planning, lesson design that will help all the students that they have in their care to acquire all the necessary skills. So the last slide, please. So we're partnering with Westfield, I've said earlier, as well as with Ontario Ministry of Education to deliver this curriculum to every Nigerian child, to every school, and for them to integrate this curriculum with the existing curriculum. It will enhance it. It will make it more robust. It will give students a robust and a better learning experience where they can develop every skill that they need to take advantage of the global opportunities. And the good thing is that the opportunities are increasing in different fields. So they need the transferable skills. I've mentioned by Mrs. Bankole, they need to develop their critical thinking skill, their collaborative skill, their communication skill, all the transferable skills that is needed for them moving into the future. And remember, we cannot actually prepare the future for them, but we can prepare them for the future. We can prepare them for the global opportunity. So, Cana-Care education program, we are ready to partner with all the schools in Nigeria, with all the schools in Africa to deliver on this mandate. And I'm sure that we are going to get your cooperation in order to get every Nigerian child, every African child to acquire the necessary skill sets. Thank you. Back to you, Sia.
Thank you, Mr. Fayemi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You've talked a lot about collaborating in order to enhance the curriculum. So I'm sure a lot of schools will be contacting you about that. And I'm sure you'll have more information to share soon enough. Skills and support for teachers is required. So thank you very much, Mr. Fayemi. On knowledge, skills, and pathways. Even Hajia Samira talked about it too. the fact that, you know, a child should be able to choose their pathways. And I see that you also touched on that. And as far as this curriculum supporting each child being an individual and being able to go in whatever direction they want to go, rather than us having to put everybody through the same pathway. So thank you very much for sharing that. Their school leaders try to find out how we can give individualized teaching and learning skills to our pupils, you know, using either your curriculum enhanced with the Cana-Care curriculum.